Okay. So that was the culmination of 10 weeks of classes, of being in a room with this man, and him, really sticking it to me often and asking me why. And we always got into discussions over the idea that this is called the science of mind. I think one day he said something like, maybe the pondering of mind. Or maybe the I don't know of mind, or the maybe possibly of mind. And he's right. To call this science in a scientific way can be debunked pretty easily. And one of the things we started calling Craig is our weekly debunker, because he would come in and say, there's no proof of that. And I have to tell you, if you're sitting here and you've bought all this hook, line, and sinker and you don't know why it's true, then it's not as powerful as you think. It's more powerful when you really probe and ask and question and wonder and debate and say, is this the truth, that what I think creates my experience? Well, let's figure it out then. Can you make yourself happy? Yes. Can you make yourself sad? Yes. Can you make yourself happy even when you're sad? Yes. Then clearly you have control over your mind. Yes? Yes. So then thank you. Then you can do it any time you need to. Yes? Yes. Okay. Is that a science? Yes. Maybe. Possibly. Perhaps. Let's ponder it. But I can tell you this, it's a science to me, which is what he got to by the end. Back to me. It's a science to me, because I know how to use it. I know how to live it. And I know what it's done for me in my life. I want to read a couple of his lyrics here. He says, "Oh, I must be so careful of the things that I invest my belief in. There are pitfalls lurking for me, mind traps that I perceive. It's so hard to ignore the plea of something deep inside of me that urgently and secretly smolders with desire to see the emperor's new finery." Just so in case you don't know what that means, for Craig, it's hard to really ignore all of those things coming up saying, prove it to me. And trying to push those down without an answer, that's not the answer. Trying to push those down and just say, I'm just going to go on faith. You know what? I went on faith for years that the Blessed Mother never died and was ascended into heaven. Yet my mind kept saying, how did that happen? Or the virgin birth. How did that happen? And someone had a great press agent, because for years we've bought that. And maybe it did happen and maybe it didn't happen. But for years I just stuffed it all down and believed things that were incomprehensible to me. That is not what this teaching is about. This teaching must be comprehensible to you. You must understand it. So thank you for that, and we're about to step into our new year of classes. I have 13 new practitioner students stepping into a very intense 2-year course of study, right, Laurie Savage? Right? Into this incredible, right, Martha? Yeah, a lot of you are in the room today that are going to be stepping into that class. And my new class that will start in the fall, which is Live It Up, which is to understand this teaching, the very thing I'm talking about. To take this teaching and understand it. Question me. Question yourself, question Ernest Holmes, question everyone, and then say, here's what I finally understood. So that's where we are. So the title of my talk today is What I Learned on My Summer Vacation. And I didn't really come here to tell you about my summer vacation necessarily, because it's all over Facebook. But there are a couple things I want to talk about. We first flew to Galveston. And the lesson I learned in Galveston, it was the beginning of our trip. And there was a night that Kevin was working, he was doing a play there, and I took the kids out to dinner. And if you've ever gone to dinner with 2 teenagers, male and female, both of whom want very different things, finding a restaurant can be difficult. We walked out of the Galveston Hotel, and there was way down the street, there was this kind of a very divey looking place that Will was so excited to go to. And then on this side was the gorgeous strip with this restaurant that had won Restaurant of the Year and Most Romantic Restaurant in Galveston. And I thought to myself, I want to go there. And Will wanted to go there. So we said to Nora, where do you want to go? And she said, I want to go to the romantic one. So we went to the newest, best restaurant in Galveston, the romantic one. While Will complained the entire walk, we never do what I want. I don't know why you people don't like these places. They're new, they're exciting. I was like, it's a dive. Have you looked at it? So it doesn't even have an A rating. So we walk into this restaurant, and it's gorgeous. And I hear behind me, Will, this is a chain restaurant. And I was like, what is a this isn't a chain restaurant. He goes, it feels like it. I might as well be at Olive Garden. Until I showed him the prices, I said, it's not Olive Garden. And so he's like, you know what, maybe I'll walk back to the hotel. And I'm thinking, it's not gonna work. You're having dinner with us, and I don't care at this point. So they give us this gorgeous table in a little like a little corner of the restaurant, which has a wine cellar behind it. It was just gorgeous. And the waiter comes up, and he asks us what we want, and the food's amazing. It looked great. And Will's like, I'll just have a glass of water. And I thought, I can play this game or not. So I said, all right, Will, that's all right. You don't have to have anything. So Nora and I ordered these meals. So by then, the waiter's there. The waiter's this nice guy. The owner comes over and meets us and says hi. It's just the most amazing experience. Our food comes, and it is unbelievable. Nora and I take one bite, and we're like, this is the best food we've ever had. And Will's drinking his water with lemon in it for nourishment. And then he takes a little bite of my chicken piccata, and his face is like, oh. He goes, Nora, let me try yours. And he's like, oh. And then the bread became, and within 10 minutes of us eating, he's like, this is the best restaurant I've ever been to. And then the chef came out, and I was telling him how much I loved his food. It was the most amazing night. And what I learned watching my son, I was like, we can make decisions about something before we know anything about them. Right? And then hold to it, no matter what, and have the worst experience ever because that's what I've decided to have. How many of you have ever done that? And so there we are in Galveston, and I was like, this is a great way for me to start this vacation because I am not going to let anything bother me this entire vacation. And I succeeded somewhat. So the next trip, we fly to Rochester to see Kevin's family. Now, Kevin's family, living in Rochester, I've been hearing about, I will be married to Kevin Bailey on September 21st for 25 years. And I have been hearing about this camp that their family owns for 25 years, and I have avoided it for 25 years. Because what I hear is there's an outhouse, there's no toilets, there's beds, there are not really beds, there's like, when they explain it to me, I'm like, no way am I going there. And they hunt, and they do a lot of things that I just thought I could never possibly go up there. And all of a sudden, it's on our itinerary to drive to the camp. I was like, how did this happen? And I was not even apprised of this. And of course, my children, Will's like, yeah, hunting. I was like, who are you? And Nora, and even Nora, she's like, wow, and there are, Kevin, what are those called, those tractors? ATVs. And she's like, Dad, no, we're going to ride ATVs. Once they told me what that was, I was like, and you want to do this? She goes, yeah. I'm like, who are you? How did I land in this family? And so we drive, 2 hours? Yeah. 2 hours up to this camp. And I have to tell you, you know how you paint a picture of something and you're like, oh, it's not as bad? I walked in and I went, oh, it's worse. It's absolutely, this is worse than I could have ever imagined. I was like, how do you sleep here? We went upstairs, and I'm getting the tour, and I'm like, oh, every bed had holes in them where the mice chew into it. And now they're not sleeping there right now. I'm sure they fix it before they move in. And I'm looking at all this, and I was like, however, something else happened to me. Because when we got outside and all the ATVs came out, and it was beautiful, the surrounding area was beautiful, I'm put on an ATV. And I was like, I'm feeling pretty butch. That side of me that's usually hidden is coming forward. So Kevin and I, we're on our own ATV, and they gave me one with a hood, and also the mosquitoes could stay away from me. But Nora and Will are on their own, and they're riding, and it was fabulous. We rode for like an hour. We came back. Then we saw the deer heads that they'd all collected. And then his father told me about what the deer's lives were like in the winter and why hunting was so important and how without the hunting, they would die horrible, horrible lives, and that they have a big sign that says, what is it, merciful hunting or responsible hunting? they have been trained to make sure that that first shot is the lethal shot so that the deer does not suffer any pain. But it has to be thinned out or it will be horrific for the entire herd. And I had a whole new awareness of all of this. And it was really fascinating because I realized that what Will did in Galveston, I did in Rochester. And we're only 2 out of the 5 cities that we're visiting. And so I learned my lesson again. Stop thinking you know and actually go experience it and see what happens. So right from there, we went to Atlantic City. We went to New York City. And I will tell you this, New York City for me was about Broadway. My husband had secured 4 tickets to see Hamilton, house seats. And they were like the best seats in the world. And we went to see Fun Home, which had won the Tony the year before. And our friend Beth Mellon was the star of it, and she had starred in Pest Control for us. So it was fascinating. And then we went to see The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night, which was just brilliant. So show after show, I was just reminded of who I was, because when I go back to New York City, I'm reminded of who I was. I lived there for 23 years. I did star on Broadway shows. I did have that full life of an actor there. And it was fascinating. Fun Home was brilliant. Theater like I've never seen it done. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. How many of you have read that book? YouTube, I bet you loved it. It's brilliant. And then Hamilton, which, how many of you know what Hamilton is? Yeah, I mean, how could you not? If you don't, go home and write down Hamilton and see what happens. It's coming to the Pantages, right? So I go to Hamilton, and you know how you go to something and it's so hyped, it can't possibly live up to the hype, right? So I go and I'm like, this is going to be good, I'm excited to see it, but how could it possibly live up to the hype? And then by intermission, it had not only lived up to the hype, it had gone so far beyond it. And Act 2 is the better act. Then when Act 2 was over, I was blown away. Just blown away. And something in me was bubbling up, this creativity. There was that God self in me that was just bubbling up saying, you're not done here. You need to be in Hamilton. You can be that white queen king. But I was like, something's in me, something. And then you guys came to mind. I was like, okay, to church though. How does the church turn into Hamilton? How do we do church like Hamilton? How does Hamilton become my ministry? Hamilton, 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 Hamilton. I didn't even know who Alexander Hamilton was before this show. Did any of you? He's on a dollar bill, a $5 bill, $10 bill. He's on one of the bills. So I was so excited, and all of a sudden, I learned my next lesson. And it's a lesson that I have learned my whole life. And it's this lesson of, my children say that I have ADDOS, Attention Deficit Disorder, ooh shiny. They do. Yeah. Because if we're talking a serious conversation, I can still say, oh my God, that tree's beautiful. And they're like, Dad, focus. But I do. I am so aware of everything around me and everyone around me, and I'm just so interested in it all. But for a long time in my life, prior to becoming a minister, I was interested in so much of it, I didn't get a lot of it totally finished. I'd get it, I'm so excited about this, then I see Hamilton, I gotta do that next, but that hasn't finished yet. And I had all that stuff, and so there I am after Hamilton, and I'm like, how do I make this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I was like, church. All this is an awakening inside of me that there's a new version of what you're doing now, ready to be born. Don't think you have to suddenly come back to New York and be an actor, because put that in your head and really think about it. And I did, and I went, ew, no. 8 shows a week, not happening. I'm not doing 8 shows a week, and I'm not going to let someone tell me how to do it. So I learned, another learn. There's my next lesson of my vacation. We went from there to Atlantic City. I don't have a lot to say about Atlantic City, except there's a lot of smoke. And we went to and that I don't particularly like gambling. You know, we played slot machines with our friend for like 3 hours, and I broke even. I was like, so what was that 3 hours about? All it was about was, way more ahs than oohs. And by the end, I broke even. I was like, yeah, and I'm smelling, and I'm ingesting smoke. And I was like, not working for me. So Atlantic City was good because I went, there are places I know I don't want to be. And as my husband wrote me once, the power of no is very powerful. You have to know where the no's are in your life. You have to know what you need to say no to because it's not who you are. Atlantic City is one of those things for me. Then I went to Philadelphia. So we ended it with my family. We started it with Kevin's family, and we ended it with my family. And we did a family reunion of 60 of my relatives, all in one place, and I hadn't seen some of them for 20 years. And it was very powerful to be in the midst of them all. But what was really powerful for me was watching Kevin and his family, and knowing Kevin as well as I do, being able to look at his family and see the imprinting that went on in his life to make this man who he is. And when I got to my family, I almost stepped out of body to look at the imprinting that went on in my world to make me who I am. And I can tell you, it was a very deeply emotional day for me. I still smiled and had a great time, but in my heart, I was noticing where a lot of my stuff comes from. And it's not about pointing out my relatives and saying, God, you're like that, that's why I was like that. It's not about that. It's just about, this is the imprint that happened on my life and where I've come to now. And there was this one little incident, and I know you'll find this funny, and no one can ever use this nickname for me, ever. But I'm going to tell it to you and trust you. So I was standing by the pool, and one of my uncles walked over and used a nickname they used to have for me that I had completely forgotten. And as soon as he said it, this thing in my stomach went, and he walked over and he went, hey, mouse. And he said it, and I had this like, mouse? Oh my God, mouse, right. And when he got to me, I realized this cavalcade of emotions of like, I was little when I was a boy. I was skinny. I was really little. I have left that be who I am in a little part of me forever, that I'm still this little person. But when he got to me, I recognized he was shorter than me. And not only was he shorter than me, but he was very round. And I was in a tank top looking fabulous. And I'm standing there going, he just called me mouse. And in an instant made me feel a little diminished. So there's a little thing in me that's still listening to that word mouse. And I was like, oh my God, how many other mouses are there in here? What else could possibly be in me that I still react to and don't know it because I don't often stand outside of myself and pay attention? And I went, oh, there's some work to do here. I don't know what it is yet, but mouse, actually, you know what? You can call me mouse. I bet I laugh now. Try it, see what happens. So, and then I came home. I'm going to just make sure I don't go forever. And then I came home. And when I got home, there was an email in my box from Reverend Dr. David Alt. And he had written this little message for his church about the dandelion. It was so simple, but as I read it, I just started crying. I was like released. And it's about the dandelion. You all know what a dandelion is? That thing that has all those things, and when you blow it, they all go? So he talked about the dandelion being the perfect expression of nature and the way we must live our lives. That it is imperative that we know that when we allow ourselves to just exhale that which no longer works for us, everything will dissipate. And it will go where it needs to go, because that's what nature does. The dandelion doesn't try to hold on to its leaves. It knows that its job is to just let it go, let it all go where it goes. They all end up being seeds to grow something better, or to be buried in the ground and be literally turned into something better or more to our liking. And I read this and I went, wow. And how fascinating that our theme this month, because it's my job to tell you what our theme is this month. Our theme this month is I let go. Our whole purpose of this month is to let go of what doesn't work. Let go of what doesn't work for you. Let go of the imprinting. Let go of thinking you came from somewhere. You all came from somewhere. I know you know where you were born. But it's time to let go of thinking we came from there. Because really where we come from is so much deeper, so much fuller. We came through there. I came through Philadelphia on my way to wherever else, but where I come from is a very different place. So letting go of where I think I came from is imperative. Letting go of thinking you are like someone or some other group. Nothing like standing in the room of 60 of your relatives and thinking that you are part of them. Because in essence, we are all part of one thing, and that is God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it. And that's who I am like. I am like that most authentic part of myself that I might not have even found yet. Bless you. Let go of thinking I have to be anything other than who I am. The most authentic part of me. So this month, you're going to get to do all of that. You're going to get to let go of anything that you no longer want in your life. You're going to let go of all the imprinting that's been done on you throughout your whole life. You're going to let go of everything anyone has ever said to you that has pissed you off. Anybody have that happen? You're going to let go of anyone's opinions of you that drive you crazy. Because what does it matter? As Craig said in his song, in the end, back to me. Because my mental equivalent is what's going to create my life. So here's your chance this month to let go of everything. So open up your program. Let's read this quote for our affirmation. So I let go. That's our theme this month. Just letting go. I let go. So our affirmation is this. I let go and let it rip. Okay? I let go and let it rip. So, oh God, you're so good. I didn't even say it yet. So, now let's say it. We'll say it twice. Let's say it the first time. Ready? I let go and let it rip. Okay, good. Now, let me just tell you quickly, although I know you're going to do it in your talk. The rip part of this is what a diver does when he dives into the water. It's supposed to, if it's brilliant, as I'm sure yours was when you won your medal, you'll hear a rip, almost like you're tearing something. Not a splash, it's a rip. So it's in honor of that. So it's the perfect dive of your life. Once you are willing to let go, there's your perfection ready to come out and let it rip. Now do you understand it? Let's do it again, shall we? I let go and let it rip. So, are you ready this month to let go of all this stuff? Yes. Are you willing to do the work? Yes. We started today with the installation of the ministers and them taking an oath to be this principle, to live this principle. So I'm going to ask you, make a decision, decide, not to just let August be the last month of the summer, but to be a month where you actually let go, where you go into the fall, go into the new season, go into where everything springs up again, right? Go into that season, having let go of everything, because once it's all gone, now you're ready. Now you're ready to just be your authentic self and not be attached to anything. You all ready for that? Okay. So Robbie, would you guys come back? Come on up, guys. So we're going to conclude this with a wonderful song that you're all going to get to sing together. And it's called I Am Letting Go. So that was my summer vacation. I have to tell you, I absolutely loved every moment of it. Even the hard moments, which seemed hard, they weren't. They gave me something to really think about. And I want to thank my husband for doing such an incredible job of planning this vacation, even the trip to the camp. Because sometimes things unfold. Sometimes they always unfold perfectly, even when you think they should have unfolded a different way.